All righty, let's get into it, folks. Law Talk is here. Nick Maruchak from MKI Legal joins me in the studio as we take you through till 12 o'clock. If you've got a question, 133 882. How are you, Nick?
Great, Gary.
How's the heat out there? What's it like out there?
It's pretty bad.
Muggy as all get out?
Yeah, I went for a run. It was pretty... I gave up halfway through because it was too hot.
See, I don't agree with running in this weather. I think it's dangerous. So I just want you to know. So I won't be running today. No running in the heat because I think it's dangerous, especially for old blokes like me. All right, we'll go straight to the lines and then we'll come back and talk about some issues. But first up, Sean's here. He's got a question. G'day, Sean.
Yeah, g'day guys. Yeah, g'day Nick. I've got a question for you, which look, I'm sure multiple people have encountered before. We had some roadworks recently, and it was ongoing, multiple weeks, etc. They had the sign up, dropped to 40 Ks, no worries, but they didn't take it off over the weekend. Now the problem with that is that you had people like myself that would drop from 80 to 40 on the weekends, do the 40 K, get tailgated. You had the other people, the other half going, well, there's clearly no roadworks, you goose. I'm going to do 80. Now, the problem you've got there is potentially got people going 40 Ks over the limit, which is huge demerit points, et cetera, et cetera. So the question I got for you, and I might add, there was zero safety risk on the weekends when this roadworks weren't happening. There was nothing like on the side of the road. So two questions for you. Number one is, if the sign's up and there's nothing happening, do you have to abide by the sign? That's question number one. Number two, what is the onus of the responsibility on the developer, the traffic management, whatever, if there's absolutely no requirement to have it up on the weekends? Where do they stand on it then as well? That's my two questions.
Interesting one. I mean, how much law's involved in this is one question, but certainly we've all been there where we've seen and had to slow down at a sign and go, hang on, there's nothing going on.
Yeah. So basically, I'll give you a quick rundown of this. So the Commissioner of Main Roads has the power to change speed limit signs, right? So that's where they put up those temporary signs. The Commissioner also has the power to authorise people who are doing roadworks to change these temporary signs. So the Road Traffic Code says that you have to follow the speed limit that applies, right? So when you enter into the zone and the sign is changed, you have to follow the speed limit. So my view is, looking at the Act, that you would have to follow, even if the roadworks are not happening, the Commissioner has the power to change the sign. You have to follow the amended sign that's indicated when you enter the zone.
Regardless of what you do or don't see. Hey, Sean, just quickly, because you said developer or something, is it in are we talking gazetted roads here, or are we talking new development area, or...?
Well, it was a new development area, but it was a fairly main road. Right. But what it was they basically had either side of the road. They were locking up the trucks on one side of the road in like a compound, and then they were then driving it literally across the road to get to the other side of the paddock to do their developing. So, yes, it was a main road, but this sign was purely out to get the trucks going across from one paddock to the other. That's all they were doing. So,
right. And so when you were there, there's actually no work, men or women or anything?
On the weekends there was nothing happening. So that's what I'm saying. You couldn't argue there was any ongoing risk at all to anyone. This was just a crossroad, and they just left the sign up.
Imagine, Sean, and I wonder what you think about this, Nick, but if you did happen to be going at, there's no work going on, but let's say you're not doing 80, but let's say you're doing 50, 55, and you copped a police vehicle that sort of had that reading and you copped an infringement. Have you got any argument at all or not? Sign's the sign. Is that it?
That would be my understanding on having a look at the code. The traffic code is pretty dense, so I would say I'm leaning towards no. You wouldn't have an argument. Mm-hmm. So when the Commissioner authorises these changes to the sign and gives these bodies the power to amend signs, these construction workers just have to follow whatever the Commissioner set.
Right.
So the Commissioner could set some requirement in there to say, look, take these signs down when it's not being worked on. Right.
Yeah.
But the other ththing is, having a look at the Road Traffic Code, there are so many laws there that get broken all the time. Like, do you know it's illegal to play on a road, right? So kids throw a ball on a road, cops aren't going to do anything, So I think it's one of those situations where police probably won't do anything unless you're really unlucky.
All right. Okay. Right. All right. Hey, by the way, have you checked whether is it all over now, Sean?
Yeah, it is all over now. Like I said, I got multiple tailgatings and a few FU signs and all that. But like I said, I mean, I didn't want to get done for doing 40 Ks over the limit, so I just went, just got to do what the sign says, I suppose.
No, you do, mate. I'm afraid, and I can imagine those people that get frustrated by it, but there's always those. Sean, thank you very much for the question. 133 882. If you've got a question for Nick Maruchak, feel free to give us a ring. Now, I think I think you know the answer to this next question off the text line if I just quickly go through it. Can a car park owner or Shire Council obtain your contact details just for your registration number? Now, I take it from Chris that means if there's an infringement tied to it, can a council obtain your contact details or a private car park owner obtain your details for your registration number? Now, we've been through this before.
Yeah, you know this one, right? So the private car park owner can't. So you have these private car park owners, if they want to obtain your contact details from just your rego, they have to go to the Supreme Court. They have to show that I've got a case to sue this person. Then the Supreme Court will give them something called a pre-action discovery. They get a court order. They give that court order to the Department of Transport. Department of Transport then gives you the contact details. So you can get it. It's a long process, whether it's worth it. When it comes to the council, this one's a more complicated question. This comes down to data sharing between government entities. There is government policies in relation to trying to share data from the Department of Transport and all other entities. My comment will be on this. If a law has been broken, then the council can probably get it. If it hasn't been broken, then it just depends on the data sharing policy. Yeah. So definite no for the private organisation, unless they go through a whole bunch of work to the court, and a maybe for the council.
Yeah. All right, there you go. Thanks very much for the question, Chris. Peter's there. Hi, Peter.
Oh, hi guys. How are you?
Good.
I was just wondering. I was made redundant a couple of years ago, and I've since found out from one of the employees that my role is being re-advertised and it's now filled. Is that illegal? And where does that? How can I actually progress this any further?
Yeah. So the problem is it happened 2 years ago. Is that right? A couple of years ago. So
it's a couple of years ago now. Yeah.
Yeah. So when a redundancy happens, the question is this job still required, and can I redeploy the worker elsewhere in the organisation? They're the two tests you really have to meet primarily. And if they don't need the job at the time that you were dismissed and they didn't have any other work for you, it's a genuine redundancy. But 2 years is far too long to go back and do anything, right? But say if, a couple of months later, you did see the job advertised, so a short period of time, you can actually, there is case law where you can say, because when they dismiss you, you have 21 days to make an unfair dismissal claim if you think the redundancy is a sham. But if you discover like something dodgy, re-advertising the job 2 or 3 months after, I've seen cases where the court will extend that time frame if it's new information becomes available.
Oh.
So so that 21 day deadline is very strict. The only way you can get around it in your situation is if you weren't aware of that job being advertised until after that deadline expired. So your case, unfortunately, no, been too long. I don't think you could be able to do it. Businesses change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. As annoying as that might be for you, mate, but I do appreciate the call and Nick for your answer. It's 14 minutes to 12. Nick Maruchak from MKI Legal. Back with more questions and calls after this. Okay, Nick Maruchak's here from MKI Legal. Let's get back to it. Dan, what's going on, Dan?
G'day, Nick, Gary, great show. Just in quickness, boys, the washing machine's gone on the blink, you wouldn't believe it again. Perfect time of year.
Mm-hmm.
What's happened is it's under warranty. They've come out several times, but the thing still keeps breaking down. And so what I'm sort of asking is, who gets to decide what's the remedy? Is it a new machine? Is it you give us our money back? Or how does it work? Where do we go from here? Who's in the driving seat?
Yeah, great. So great question. So when it comes to refunds or repairs, so obviously you're covered by Australian consumer law. If there's a major defect, major problem in a good you purchase, say if it's unsafe or it's different from the description you provided or can't be used for normal purpose without an easy fix, then the consumer has a right to decide whether they get a refund or whether they get it repaired. So that's if there's a minor issue with it, then the seller has a opportunity, gets to decide whether they do the refund or the repair. If they do the repair, they have to repair it within a reasonable period of time. If they are unable to repair it within a reasonable amount of time, then you can get a refund, go get someone else to fix it and get them to repay the cost. So that's a general outline. So the question is, sounds like they've already tried, and the issue is it a reasonable amount of time? Have they been given a reasonable amount of time to fix this? Once that's expired, then you can go and demand a refund.
How long had you had it quickly, Dan? I forgot.
Sorry?
How long have you had it?
Probably a year, just on 18 months, something like that. Yeah,
geez.
so it's not long, you know.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. So when you buy a good, it's supposed to last a reasonable period of time. Washing machines, I'm looking at 5 years. If it's more expensive brand, it will last longer. So So they've fixed it a couple of times. So and it's still breaking, right?
Yeah, it's still breaking, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Same stuff. So there's obviously something going on.
So it's always come to the point where they haven't repaired it within a reasonable period of time here. So maybe give them one more go, if you can tolerate it, and then you're going, all right, you guys haven't repaired it under Australian consumer law within a reasonable period of time. I want a refund, and you write to them and you request a refund under Australian consumer law, and if they don't give you the money back, and they fight you on it, you can go to the magistrate's court and do a minor case
Hopefully
claim.
it doesn't come to that.
Yeah.
Without saying, are they a big organisation?
Yeah, they are. Look, in fairness to them, they've been good. They've been really proactive.
Right.
They've come out. We've got the little ones at home. So, look, I think they'll probably will come to the party.
Right.
So, and they are reputable. They're one of the bigger ones. And it is, I think from memory, you're right, Nick, about 5-year warranty. So they've been good up to this point. But I'm like, let's just end the charade.
Let's
We
just
don't
get over it.
let's get off the treadmill.
Yep. No, totally understand. All right, mate. Good luck with that. Let's jump in and speak to Rob. Hello, Rob.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks for helping us out. I received a letter from Ford Motor Company yesterday to do with my Ford Ranger, suggesting that there's a potential problem with the cooler that could leak, and that if it was to eventuate within the next 7 years, they would repair it. My question is that I take the four-wheel drive off-road and up through the centre of Australia. If I have a trouble in the centre of Australia, how do I get back? What sort of a predicament am I left in, and it could be unsafe. So should they repair it regardless, even though there might not be a fault?
Yeah, so when it comes to these vehicle repairs, they're regulated a lot by the government when it comes out because there's safety issues. So on the letter that you got, that they're not offering a repair right away, right? So they're saying if it breaks, then we'll do it for free. Is that what they're telling you?
Yeah, that's correct, for up to 7 years.
Yeah.
But if you're off-road, they shouldn't be allowing you to take a vehicle that could potentially break down and you could die out in the middle of the desert.
Well, it's true. How old's the vehicle?
It's be 7 years old.
7-year-old. And so the recall just tells you to be mindful of it, but can't you under the recall, though, take that back in? This is just me because I've done it. Mm-hmm. Can't you just take it back in and say, I received this letter, I'm about to go on a trip, can you please assess my vehicle? Is that possible?
Yeah, what they're suggesting...
Because I think
I'm not sure if it's possible, but they're suggesting in the letter that they don't intend doing anything unless the problem develops.
Okay.
So this is the way I think you would play out. If you have the accident, right, and let's just assume that this is not life or death situation, you survive, right, then you could sue them for breach of Australian consumer law and recover something called consequential losses. So these are all the losses you suffer as a result of the defect in the product. That would include the additional cost of towing it, the additional cost of moving the vehicle, and all those kind of things that flow. So that's what you would be entitled to if it breaks. But I agree with Gary. I think you should write to them and just try and convince them to voluntarily repair it up front.
Or have it, I mean, so I take it it's an expensive replacement that they're warning you might have to happen, but they're saying they won't do it unless it occurs. It's it's not a very good feeling for a motorist to know that they've got a vehicle that something could happen to it. Big dealership, mate, Rob, without naming them, sorry, but just a big dealership. I mean, I'm trying to figure out whether that approach of sort of going in there and saying, listen, I'm heading out on the road and I just need you to give me a better idea about this vehicle.
Yeah, the letter's actually from the Ford Motor Company. It's not actually from the dealership.
Well,
just suggests that if you have a problem, take it to a dealership.
But at the moment, under law, he's probably got nowhere to go at this stage, does he, Nick? Like, there's nothing he can do under law right now other than trying to go to a dealer and say, listen, I want some comfort here.
That's my understanding. There is a website called vehiclerecalls.gov.au. These things are regulated by the federal government, so there is a process there. There's some laws in relation to more complexies outside of Australian consumer law.
What's the website again?
So vehiclerecalls.gov.au.
Vehiclerecalls.gov.au. So, all right. Well, Rob, that's probably the best we can do for you.
Have a look at that.
Because you haven't got the legal issue yet. You've got the pending one. That's a worry. Hey, Nick, this is the last time that you and I will be together in the studio as I sort of head off on another adventure after a bit of a break. It's been a pleasure working with you, and as you've sort of grown into the role as well, I wish you all the very best going forward and have a great Christmas, you and your team there at MKI.
Thank you, Gary. Same to you.
Good on you. It's 3 minutes to 12.